Right, so our first story, the pay gap. Should you ask colleagues doing the same job as you whether they are earning more than you? That's one suggestion being put forward to tackle the pay gap, which between male and female bosses at least is widening. New research from the Chartered Management Institute suggests that on average, men are paid £10,500 more a year than women in managerial roles. The Trades Union Congress says it's difficult for women to challenge disparities in salary, crucially because often they cannot find out whether they are actually being paid less than the men in the same job. So is the answer to that to have some frank conversations with your colleagues about earnings, down the pub, whatever? Under current laws, a woman does need evidence of pay discrimination before she can challenge her employer. Perhaps you'd feel uncomfortable about having those kinds of chats with your workmates. You might feel that pay is an intensely private matter. But how are these unfairnesses going to be equalled up unless it happens? If you're an employer, you might be very concerned about what you're hearing because this could lead to huge numbers of employees challenging their salaries and pushing up the cost of the payroll. Let's talk to Sarah Veale, Head of Equality and Employment Rights at the Trades Union Congress. Hi, Sarah.
Hi, Jeremy.
And Dr. Sheila Lawlor is Director of the free market think tank Politeia. Sheila, first of all, you concerned that yet again we see these figures saying women are paid less?
There's always a problem of women in the labour market, Jeremy, because many women take time off to look after children or to give birth. And as a result, they sometimes move to part-time work when they come back because of family responsibilities, or even if they move back eventually to full-time work, it can take up to 15 years, the studies suggest, for them to make up the difference of pay that they have lost. In fact, they are downwardly mobile in terms of their job. So there are perfectly good explanations. If you look at women up to the age of 30, the gender pay gap is very little. That suggests that before they start having babies and changing their habits of work, they do earn roughly the same as
Right, well, Sarah, if that is the case, then suddenly this all looks quite rational, doesn't it, if women are behind because they have taken large amounts of time off work?
Well, Sheila's, of course, factually correct, but I disagree with the perfectly good description of it. It's not perfectly good to say that because women take time out of work to have babies and fall behind with training and professional updating, that therefore they should suffer a pay penalty for the rest of their working lives. A good employer would make sure that they were brought back up to speed, would make sure that part-time working was available and, crucially, was highly valued. Because I think at the moment there's a big employer attitudinal problem, and they say that once women have gone off to have babies, they develop baby brains, they're not really committed to their job, and therefore, too bad, it's their fault. And I'm afraid that Sheila's approach rather does seem to say, well, it's a fact of life, women have babies, tough. I don't agree with that.
Just to be clear here, are you saying, Sheila, that women fall behind because when they get back to full-time work they're always more junior, or are you saying they fall behind because actually they are working fewer hours?
Both, Jeremy. Far more women take part-time work than men, and this is because they want to accommodate family life with a job. And if you look at the stats, it's over two-thirds of women are the part-time workers proportionately to men. So far more women take it, and it accommodates their lifestyle. They want to look after their families part-time and have some job and keep up. Other women take entire periods out of the labour market, sometimes until their children are up to 5. But what I am saying is it's because their working patterns differ.
Okay.
Their salaries or earnings do not differ significantly from other women who don't take breaks from the labour market.
Let's just go to the main issue here, which is how you address this, and the idea that the only way of addressing it is by everybody revealing what they're earning. Now, employers apparently can't do that because of the law. So, Sarah, what about this idea that two at a time, employees go down the pub and one-on-one they fess up to their salaries?
Well, just to make one thing clear, it's now not illegal for people to talk to each other about what they're earning. It was until the Equality Act was passed. But I would certainly advocate that women who are in this position, as far as possible, don't try to go it alone. If they're feeling that their pay is unequal compared to men doing the same or work valued as being the same, they should talk to other women in the same position, because often it's a systemic problem. A whole pay grading system in a company is probably unintentionally discriminating against women for all sorts of historical reasons and needs to be rectified. But the crucial point is that women are much, much better able to tackle these issues if they talk to each other, have a canteen conversation, talk to some of the men in the business and say to each other, well, this is unfair, it's unlawful, and together we're going to go and talk to the employer about it. And of course, if they're in a union, the union can be the third party which protects them from any kind of possible victimisation.
But Sarah, there's a big difference between the women in the company having a canteen conversation and then one of the men being drawn into this conversation who may feel he's got all kinds of arguments why he should not say how much he's earning.
No. I think most intelligent men, and of course most men are as equally likely to be as intelligent as women.
You're narrowing it down now.
No, not at all. You said that, not me. But I think the point is that men, on the whole, will understand that it doesn't mean reducing their pay. It means bringing women up to the same level for the same job. And I'm confident the majority of decent men would say, yes, if that woman's doing what I'm doing, all things being equal, then she shouldn't be being paid less for it. And I think men will agree with that.
Sheila, why would a man decide not to join that canteen conversation?
If employers do not discriminate on grounds of gender. What employers in the labour market have to do in order to keep the jobs open and businesses productive is to pay people on the basis of their knowledge, their experience, their skills. It may well be that some women are paid more than men because their jobs involve more skill, more knowledge, more responsibility. The issue is employers have to decide what is necessary to pay people so that their businesses are productive and people are working to their best capacity. If it happens that women are better at doing a job, they must be rewarded. And if it happens that men are better, but I don't believe this is a gender gap difference. This is a problem invented by the trade unions in order to abolish differentials in the labour market. We need differentials because we need to pay people who do a much more responsible or a job requiring more knowledge or experience, more money.
Sarah, doesn't the market work to increase the pay of people that employers don't want to lose?
Well, sadly, it's a lot more complicated than Sheila's suggesting. I mean, there's a whole issue about gender job segregation, which says that jobs which have been traditionally done by women, for example, school, dinner, and they nearly always are ladies, are valued much more lowly than jobs that are rated equivalent, such as a school caretaker, which is mainly done by a man. So it's not nearly as simple as Sheila's suggesting. It certainly isn't a trade union conspiracy. Our job is to make sure that there's genuine equality in the workplace and that illegal discrimination against women, even if it's not intentional, is ironed out.
Sarah,
trade unions have a good history on this.
Just when you say that there's genuine equality in the workplace, there's very, very few areas of life where you have equality, or sometimes you don't even need it. I mean, you know perfectly well that in the workplace some people are good at their jobs and some people aren't so good.
Yeah, but
so there is not equality in that respect.
No, that should be on the basis of whether or not they're as good, not on the basis of whether they're a man or a woman. And I'm afraid that low pay levels still attach themselves to jobs that are done by women because employers still feel that certain jobs that are done by women are worth less. And I'm afraid that's an old-fashioned 20th century attitude that still prevails in some private sector employers.
The example you gave is not a good one. Somebody who comes in and serves dinner, be it a man or a lady, has a lower level of responsibility and probably hours than the school caretaker who has to make sure the buildings aren't broken into, who has to be there on beck and call every moment of the day.
I'm afraid that you're standing at odds with equal pay experts. This has been tested in court right up to the highest levels, and it's been found that the jobs are of equal value. And if you want to contest that with equal pay experts, then that's
Sarah,
fine. But I think you're wrong on that one, Sheila.
Your problem is, if you look at nursing, which traditionally was a female area, now you have a different sort of approach to nursing where you have men coming in. Different fashions change over the period. But the trade union movement isn't going to help what is the real task facing all of us, which we need to make industry and business productive so that we can sell our goods and not lose jobs to China, to India, and to the emerging European economies who are far more productive than we are. And if you fight about trying to make employers, forcing them to pay everybody the same amount of money, whether they're worth the same to the company, you will make British business uncompetitive.
That's an unfair caricature of what I was saying, Sheila, and you know it. What I'm saying is partly that women will not work to their best if they feel they're being unfairly treated simply because they're women. Differentials are good, but only if they're worked out on a fair premise, and that's where the TUC comes at it from.
Thank you very much indeed. Fascinating. Sarah Veale, who's Head of Equality and Employment Rights at the Trades Union Congress, and Dr. Sheila Lawlor, who's Director of the free market think tank Politeia. This is CeeLo Green.
If this makes you cry,